I'm Celso from Guará.c, and today I want to show you how I made this little ghost statue from Hollow Knight. I had already made this mask for my son for Halloween, and this could be a good starting point, except the proportions are wrong because it needed to fit my son's face proportion so he could see out of it. So the eyes are way closer together than the actual little ghost supposed to be. And this was fully done on the Zbrush for iPads. I chose Zbrush instead of Nomad this time because there was some specific brushes I wanted to use. And I chose the iPad instead of my main computer because I was doing this in the couch while watching the kids. After loading this image reference that I found, I started his head from a cube. I found it easier to round a cube than square a sphere. And at this stage I'm pretty much only using the smooth and the move brushes. For the horns and body I ended up using Z-spheres. This entire blocking stage I actually find it easier in Nomad than Zbrush. I try to get the horn silhouette as close as possible before I actually merge it to the rest of the mask. And after I do, I go around refining the head shape as well. For the eye holes, I use a circle mask and the edge loop tools to make a clear poly selection. And with that, I can just hold control while moving inside to create this inverted extrusion. Because I increased the resolution of the Dynamesh so I could get a sharper eye, now I have a little bit more geometry all around so I can go around and refine parts like the horns that got a little wonky before. My son wanted him to have the pure nail. To model this one, I just got a couple cylinders, squished them together, dynameshed everything, and start tracing an image of the pure nail with the damn standard brush. After that, I hid the image and went back refining everything, mostly with the damn standard brush still, but this time holding out so I can get those sharp transitions. When I was playing Hollow Knight and I came across Nosk, that's when I realized that maybe his mask is actually made out of a bug's head and the little horns are actually the jaws of a beetle. And later on, when I found the mask maker, looking around his studio, you can kind of see multiple different bug faces that he's sculpting and painting to get different masks to either sell or gift the bugs without a face. And now that it's time for me to add details to this sculpt, I'm looking at references for beetle faces and insect faces for surface detail, but that detail is gonna remain on the surface. I'm not gonna let it affect the silhouettes too much. I'm also picking, choosing what I like, not actually following a specific reference. Like in this one, for example, I don't like those little cracks too much because that's gonna conflict with what I'm gonna do for the body. So I want something more bone-like, like what it has here, with a rough surface on the cavities and get it smoother towards the top. And to get those details, I'm using this brush pack from Pablo Munoz. This specific one is really old, but it's still really good. And actually, after using this again, I haven't used any years, I realized that now he has a whole bunch of other brushes for sale, and they all look amazing. Like this looks a lot more interesting than the old pack. I might actually get those. And I was looking also at these wood texture ones. This is amazing. So I'm probably gonna spend some money on his store later on today. For his body, it's mentioned multiple times in the game that he's made out of void. And when you get to the abyss, you get a chance not only to see other creatures made of void, like probably your siblings, but also you see the void as a force by itself, like this ferrofluid kind of water that moves around and tries to get you. So I looked at images of actual ferrofluid and how it behaves to inspire me for the details of his body. And look at this, I know for a fact what was the inspiration for Spider-Man 3 Venom taking over Spider-Man. I ended up giving him little feet with the hopes that he would stand up by himself, but I didn't like it at all, and later on I removed those. It suggested that his cape/cloak is made out of moth wings, but when looking at real reference for moth wings, they don't really look like anything like his cloak, so I took some liberties here and I just went with the flow and didn't look at any references for this part. And I got a little lazy for the base and ground. I just smashed a few spheres together and flattened the sides. I honestly could have done a better job on this part. But this thing was for my son's birthday and I was doing it on the week off, so I had to get it done. I printed this in resin and I'm not really showing the final Zbrush stage of preparing this to print, because I made a few mistakes and I learned some new things on this one, so I'm gonna do a video only about that next. As far as preparing the print for painting, the only thing I had to do was sand a little bit of the little knobs left by the supports, but that was only on the heads because of my not so smart object orientation for the head. Everything else was very clear of those little knobs. I didn't have to worry about whatsoever. I did a coat of white primer on everything, and I really liked the white primer finish. It's very matte, especially for the mask. It really gives the dry matte bone quality I was looking for. I'm using Tamiya acrylic paint, and for the cape/wings I decided to apply with a brush because I thought the brush marks would actually add to the texture. And I was shocked that that paint levels so well that there was no brush texture left whatsoever, which is a great thing because it saves me from loading the airbrush and having to clean everything after, especially on areas that have a flat color all across, at least on the first stage. For the body, I just applied a thick coat of glossy black, and that's as far as I went. And I used the same glossy black for the eyes. The nail was actually pretty interesting. It's the second time I'm using this. It's a 2-part chrome. You first paint it glossy black and then you apply the chrome on top and it turns metallic instantly. It's pretty cool. For the base and the cape, I tried this thing very similar to a wash, but I used oil paints, water-based oil paints that I had laying around. I just applied a pretty heavy layer and came back with a paper towel drying out everything, and only the crevices remained painting. I don't know if I would do this again because even the water-based oil paints take forever to dry. I also did some dry brushing with a lighter gray on the cape, and I think that made it pop quite a lot. And for the cavities on the nail, I used a panel liner, something usually used on Gundams, instead of doing the wash like I did on the cape, because the details were much finer on this one. So that's pretty much it for this one. I thought of having this model available for free so anyone can print it, but there's a couple adjustments that I need to make so the parts fit better together. And I don't want to go through the trouble of fixing that if nobody's gonna print it. So let me know if you're interested, and if enough people want it, I will just post the link on the next video.